Welcome to the Globetrottin ADs. This podcast is for you, athletic directors, activity coordinators, coaches, and program associates based in international schools around the world. The Globetrottin ADs is proudly hosted by Nick DeForest from the American International School Vienna and Matt Fleming from the American International School of Budapest. Here they are now, Nick and Matt and the Globetrottin ADs.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Globetrottin ADs. We're coming to you from a variety of time zones. We have some special guests today from the 3D Institute. We're going to talk about a new course that's coming out that we're very excited about that Nick and I have been participating in, and we'll give you some details about that. But before I introduce our guests, I'll throw it over to Nick over in Vienna. We are currently in the same time zone, so that's easy for us to do. But we'll give you little details about the other guys here in a minute. What's up, Nick?
Hey, Matt. Yes, really excited to get this info out. I think we've been working on it for a while, and finally ready to share. And to have the perfect two people with us. So Mark Hull is with us, who, if you listen to the podcast or come to conferences with us, you know well. And joining him is Wes Simmons, first time on the podcast, but the president and CEO of 3D Institute. So we're honored to have you both on here. Guys, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Wes, if you don't mind, would you just say a little bit about yourself and where you're based or what you do with 3D for those that don't know you?
Well, I live in St. Joseph, Missouri with my wife and my four kids. I've got one who we turned 18 this summer, so close to a milestone there. And it was in St. Joseph, Missouri in 2009, I believe, or maybe it was 2010, that brought Jeff Duke into our community. And that was the first time I heard anybody share 3D. And for me, it was just this aha moment because somebody had given language to what I always just called the it factor. You know, I had these great coaches who I found out on that day were 3D coaches and really just captured my imagination. Connected with Mark. We began working with Jeff, and over the next few years got organized and launched the 3D Institute in 2014. So we're coming up on a 10-year anniversary in October. Excited about that. And it's been amazing to see how what started out kind of as an acorn of an idea is now starting to grow and shoot out some branches. So we're in partnership with you all, and obviously with Mark and his work around the world. It's an exciting time. I think we're at a point now where we can confidently say we've successfully trained tens of thousands of coaches from all over the world, and a lot of Mark's work that's in over 60 countries. So we're excited to connect with you and learn more about how we can serve and support you all in your mission.
Super.
Wes, just a question. Were you working in education or in coaching at that time when you first met the 3D guys?
My degree was in education. I coached for a few years, and then about 2004, I began working really on a vision to what became 3D Institute. The original version of that was called the Coaches Circle. And I had a dream to really build an online professional development platform for coaches clear back in 2004. So I'd been working on that, been doing some speaking, worked with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. That's where I first connected with Mark and Jeff through some common connections there. And so I was kind of doing a lot of things in the realm of coaching education, besides just coaching my own kids. But no, not formally in education, just working with educators and coaches to coach the coaches.
Right.
Great.
That's awesome. Well, Mark, Wes hit it on it. You travel a lot. You are all around the world, and it's awesome. You are not at home right now. Welcome back to the pod. Let us know where you are, please.
Oh, I feel like I'm at home on this podcast.
Yeah.
What do you mean I'm not at home? I feel right at home. But I'm from Eau Claire, Wisconsin. That's where I'm based out of. I fly out of Minneapolis, and I'm in Kuala Lumpur right now.
Awesome.
Got here last night, and most of the ADs listening to this know what I'm going through because they've all gone through that too, that transition of time zones. But it's just a delight to stay up a little late tonight and be on the call to launch this coaches course that we've all partnered on. So I'm excited to finally get this out, as I've actually talked to a couple of ADs who have called about some things. I said, just wait, we've got something for you.
Yeah. Yeah, super. Well, Mark, let's just jump right to that. And that's the point of today. So why don't you kick it off? Tell us about this course
Right.
that we've been working on.
I will, and I'm going to ask Wes to kind of step
Sure.
in too, because
Of
it's
course.
based upon something that both, well, Jeff Duke was part of, but mostly my brother Mitch and Wes helped to create as we were looking at what was the training that coaches were required to do in the states. Some states have coaching requirements, and part of it was a course that they were taking, and we started a dialogue with them on what it would mean to offer an alternative. So Wes, why don't you step in there, because that's the baseline that allowed us to build out what we're doing internationally.
Yeah, really, it started organically. I would say as we continued to grow our influence in different states, leaders from, really coaches from different states would reach out and say, hey, can we, we've got these coaching requirements. Can we count this? Does this work? Can we do this instead of that? Or, really trying to check a box, even though our course is much more than a check the box kind of course, there are those boxes to check. And, so it really just all started with organic requests that came from athletic directors and coaches. And then we entered into dialogue with some of the state directors. So we started in Virginia. Virginia was the first state that we built out a state component course for, where when you coach in the state of Virginia, if you want to choose the option of the 3D Institute and the course that we call Foundations for Coaching in all three dimensions, that exists. Then we had a couple other states see what we were doing there. The second state we had was Oregon. We've picked up a couple other states, North Dakota, Vermont, and we're continuing to grow that. But what's exciting about this is not just the opportunity to continue to expand that model and that course around the United States, but around the world.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of, when pieces come together, Matt and I were talking about getting something for the same language for all our coaches, something we can all do and then all talk about. And when I heard about that, I thought this was a fantastic opportunity, right, Matt? You've been talking about something like this for a while.
Yeah, and meeting with my coaches, most of this year, we've had chances on professional development days, really to start to get our heads wrapped around like themes and philosophy statements, and what do we want to say as a sports program in addition to our curricular program that we're going to offer for our kids, and what's the end, or what are the gains they're going to get out of it when they come through our program. So having this 3D program available, it just seems like it's just such a good natural fit, and it's going to be a very good course for us to go to, or a road to go for us to go down, and to make our coaches better, to make them better connectors with kids, and to provide a better opportunity for our kids. So it's very exciting times for us here in Budapest, the American School.
Yeah. Great.
That's a conversation I remember having with both of you, and then saying, well, we've created this and what we call kind of white labeled it. So this is Virginia's course and this is Oregon's course. We created the content, but it's their course. And what would that mean for international schools? After spending about 4 years now, I think, with the two of you, and before that getting to know you, but the last 4 years, really then engaging the international schools around the world, there's some unique things about international schools that are different than U.S. schools. In fact, one of your last two podcasts really pointed some of that out, but there's a lot of similarities too. And so I had the two of you take a look at what we created, so what works, what is appropriate, what's not, and then how do we make this feel international and not feel like internationals are taking just a U.S. course. And so that was the conversation we had, and I think that's what we've created in this, what we're calling International Schools Foundations of Coaching course.
Yeah, and that's why I'm excited too, because we have, here at our school, we have coaches from all over the place. We have coaches from North America, we've got local Hungarian coaches, we've got coaches from Asia, we've got coaches from South America. So everybody's excited, and just giving the overview of what we're going to get into with the 3D coaching. Everybody's on board in terms of the universal themes that it provides.
And the language, as we say. Wes,
I think that's really the power of what we've created, and really just the power of the 3D framework is, if you you really look at what it is, it's a framework for humanity, right? I mean, so it doesn't matter if that person's living in this country or that country. We all are three-dimensional beings. And there is a physical component to what we do, but there's also that mindset and that heart that we know that if we can just help coaches be more intentional with practical strategies that are effective to lead well in all three of those dimensions, the applications are there. And because sport, you know, one of the things, Mark, you talk about this. You talk about one of the things you've learned is that, yes, every culture is different, but sport has a way of kind of being the same everywhere, especially the higher level you go. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, the sport is a subculture, as we say in all of them, and the central organizing principle of sport around the world is the same. It's organized around the framework of what it is to compete, and that is the organizing principle, no matter where you are. And then, as Wes mentioned, no matter where you are, you're three-dimensional beings, and especially in an education-based sporting, you desire to develop the whole person. That's not always the case in club-based, though, as they start to recognize, if you want higher performance, develop the whole player.
Right.
But that's already built into educational-based sports.
Right.
So we tried to capture the essence of our full training in this course. There's a customized introduction of you all. You can speak to that in a minute. But then what we did was we condensed down really what we would consider are the essentials of the 3D framework. So people have an increased clarity on their purpose. We now have an alignment of effort, a common language, and a shared framework. But then there's a lot of things that 3D doesn't inherently address head on that are still needs that coaches have in this kind of training. So after the initial 3D component is done, we move into a section of the course called Standards of Excellence, where, you know, really it's about some of those things that are traditionally presented as check the box kind of knowledge checks and, you know, cover your rear end kind of stuff. But we tried to approach that from a little bit different angle, where yes, we are teaching those concepts, but can we do so within the 3D framework? And then we were intentional about every time we shared maybe something that's a little more practical on safety or on just, you know, how do you structure practices, and some of that information is in there. But then we always try to add a story of impact. So this not just an information dump, but we're engaging minds and hearts as we share that knowledge that they need to know in the first dimension to be a great coach.
Right. Well, and that's what it's great. It's a lot of the courses you said are information dumps. It's just dumped, and internationally, or not just around the world, club or high level, but international schools are so different that it feels like no matter what you take or whatever book you read, there's some great things, but there's also things of, oh, I can't do that with this team or in this country or in the short season we have, it just doesn't work. But not with this course and this content. It's really applicable for every coach and every team everywhere.
I had our friend in Switzerland, Masa Yo. I just was talking with him, and his question was, how is this applicable to the international school? And my answer is that I'm not the expert there. And that's why we went to the two of you and said, look at this, go through this course, and I want you tell us what should be in there and shouldn't, because you guys are the experts at the international school. And then how do we put that feel of it? And so it was good to be able to answer that question, because there's similarities, but there's enough differences that you got to say, let's not just make this a course and make it the same course as every coach would go through in the US. There's got to be some differences. And so we are appreciative of you to help us to identify those things. Now we'll turn it over to the two of you and your experience with this to get this launched.
Well, Wes, you mentioned about we did an intro, right? So I traveled to Budapest and well, first we worked on the content, what we wanted to say, you know, and how we wanted to introduce the course and why we thought it was important, right, Matt? And then we filmed the introduction. So we also think it's pretty cool, right? If coaches all around the world take this course and they're greeted by the two friendly faces of the Globetrottin ADs, it's just a nice byproduct, I think, of that. But
I was just gonna say we had to beautify it a little bit,
Yeah,
and so we just
absolutely.
get it right off the start there, man.
Well, there's a lot of B footage, B roll in there. It's not just the two of our faces, but Matt, you have a pretty solid idea of how you want to roll this course out and how do you want to use it in the fall. Would you share that? I think schools
Sure.
would be interested. Yeah.
Yeah, so my plan is, and I'm still working out the details with our administration here, with our curriculum coordinator, because they're in the process of finalizing our professional development days, and we come back in August. So we have about a week or so before the kids arrive, where we have PD days, and there's loads of meetings, and there's health and safety courses folks have to take, and there's introductions for the new people. There's a lot of stuff going on. But what I want to try to do is get a piece of that time, even if it's just an hour or two, where I can get my coaches in, and we can start to go through the course together. Even if it's just spending an hour going, because you can start and stop as you go, which is great. But I want to at least spend an hour, hopefully two, where we can start going through the courses together as like a pilot group. And this first time around for our school, and we can pause and we can talk as we go through the different modules, and discuss how are the applications of those themes that we can talk about in our program, and how can we apply those here. We can talk a little more in depth about situations here we might have, or this will be very useful for our coaching education.
Yeah, and that's the best way to do it. That's the best way to do it.
Together.
We call those coaches circles in our
Yeah.
language. But if we can get coaches circled up and really having the dialogue, those meaningful dialogues,
Right.
we're the guides.
Yeah.
That's all we are. We're conversation starters. We want to help tee up the right conversations. And yes, we will provide some solutions and answers and best practices. But it's my experience that anytime you get coaches together, most of the answers to all the problems are in the room. The problem is we're just not having the right dialogue. And so this, in my opinion, that's the best way to do it, is not just
Right.
go through the content. We want that content to go through the people that are actually engaged in it
Right.
at a
Yeah.
deeper level. And that happens through those conversations and dialogues. So I commend you. I think that's, first of all, it's a value statement, because what we value is what we give our time, our energy, our effort, and our money towards. And you're creating space for that. Not only is it a value statement, but it's also how you're going to maximize the value out of the training.
Yeah, and the great thing too is I have the full support of our administration here. They recognize the value of this initiative, and working with the 3D program. So that's been a huge bonus too, because then we can parlay that into, it's supporting our program. It's parents are going to know that their coaches coaches training is in place, and it's nothing but positives for us as a school.
The specifics on it is that it's not our course for certification or credit, but
Yeah.
as Wes said, it does give the framework and the ability to see and think that way. And then it's, what is it, about a little over 2 hours long, Wes? I don't even remember here now as we put that all together. About 2 hours of content, all in those 3 to 5 minute videos. And the cost is $30 per coach. We wanted to keep that reasonable so that ADs can budget that in. Usually, as you've talked about, getting groups of buying a group license. And then as we would make this available to any of the listeners that you have there, if they're in that AD position, of course they need to take a look at it to know what it is. And we will certainly make that available for any of the leaders. That's also been the case for our course for certification as well. If they're really serious about that, we would talk to them about making it available so that they know what it is and see that it really is an engaging journey for coaches. It's not a check the box. We want it to be as inspirational as it is informational.
Right.
Yeah. And sorry, Nick, I just want to say too, like
Please.
we're much different than the state of Virginia, or where I'm from, Ohio. Like these courses are required by the state association so that you can have the coaches in place. We're international. We don't really have to do anything like that. But going down this road, I think is going to be great, because we want to do this, and we want to make sure our coaches have some good training. So this is phenomenal.
Yeah, perfect. And then when they just dig into it, I think that you mentioned the course for certification. That's just an extension. They can just carry right on if they want and get some college credit out of it afterwards. So, yeah, that's great. I think I just wanted to share with everyone how I don't intend to do it that way, at least not right now, because I couldn't get the time from the school. But our school is one that has required coaches to do some courses, like you've mentioned, every year, or when they were new. And they were a bit dry, but we got through them and found value in them. But a lot of coaches had asked for something different, something more, something better. So I'm really excited to roll this out to all those coaches to at least do on their own, and then we can bring those themes up afterwards. And hey, remember that? Remember this section? Let's talk about that section. So I was just like some of those schools in those states you mentioned, for sure. I was looking for something a little different, a little better. So, well, guys, you are from Texas to Malaysia, and we've taken enough of your time to intro this great course. So anybody out there that is interested, of course, in the show notes, we'll put some things, but Doc Beeman, you would email him directly for a group package. Also contact Matt or I for more details. I'll have this in the newsletter. We'll put the links out there, and we'll make sure anyone listening can get to the right place as quickly and easily as they can.
And I'm thinking maybe next fall, Nick, we can do a little recap, or sometime next year we can come back and have a little debrief or review of how it's gone, and what the progress has been since taking this course. So I look forward to doing that as well.
Yeah, and I would love to make note of all schools that take this on as a big school package. And so AIS Budapest and AIS Vienna are leading the charge here, and really excited about it. So hope to get some more people on board.
We'll look forward to that, and sometime we'll have Wes on all that's being developed at the Institute with the 3D teaching, 3D business, and then just really creating that culture that every kid would want to be a part of that changes lives.
That would be great.
For sure.
Would be great.
I'm always down.
Super. Well, thank you both. It was great, short and sweet, and impactful, I hope. So thanks, Wes. Thanks, Mark.
Well, I appreciate you guys very much for all that you do and allowing us to be a small part of that, Mark. I'm glad you connected us.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for carving out the time off.
Until next week, this has been another episode of the Globetrottin ADs.